If you like plans and specification in your life and on your projects, you are going to love this episode. And if you hate plans and specification for your life and for your projects, you are going to love this episode. Most teams still underestimate how much specification shape the outcome. And that applies to life, to complex transformation projects, to a small application you build, and pretty much anything. People jump into delivery right away, especially here in North America. They choose a vendor and then speed up to choosing the tooling. But the one thing that actually determines the cost, the quality, and the credibility is the specification itself. And in the AI era, you don't get to hide behind clever engineering or abstract intent. For someone like me, who has worked both on the business side and on the IT side, I am definitely happy that the hiding behind the backend code is finally finished. Your thinking is now embedded directly and publicly in the output. And if your specification is vague, you'll fail in a very noisy way because it will be the first thing your users see. This plays out everywhere in finance system, in product delivery, in AI systems delivery, because teams assume they can clarify as they go. They provide a 20 pages document as a starting point, which is enough to justify a project without exposing the gaps inside it. But what they are writing isn't really a specification, and it holds a bunch of placeholders for dozens of decisions that haven't been made and will be taken care of later. And when those gaps surface mid-delivery, you'll get into budget issues, timeline and planning issues. And of course, everybody will start blaming the other party about it. And the output definitely suffers from this laziness and misalignment in providing specifications. We have seen this even in companies operating at the frontier of the technology. When OpenAI released the new version of ChatGPT 3 months ago, one user submitted a deliberately absurd concept, a business called on a stick, literally. And the AI responded with full enthusiasm, outputting, "Honestly, this is absolutely brilliant." It made it to the Gone Wild on Reddit, and OpenAI technical leader had to provide explanations about it. In fact, nothing was broken in the tool because the spec told it to match the user's tone. So that's what the tool did. The model was behaving as instructed with a specification that wasn't complete, and the output reflected it. OpenAI updated the model specification to exclude sycophantic flattery, specifying be direct, avoid ungrounded flattery, maintain grounded honesty, and with some weight changes, the output looked much better. As you can see, the change had nothing to do with model's complexity. It was a specification problem. I saw the same principle play out inside a large North American finance transformation project a few years ago. Their team brought us a very thin specification. If I remember, it was less than 30 pages. It was just a few pages with a lot of hyperlinks to some external Excel files, and it meant to define the P&L, G&A, cost structure, and expense reporting for 8 business lines and 2 major countries in North America. It was meant to inform the full scope of data and BI needed to automate the operational processes in finance, And it was only 30 pages, and to the point of people who wrote it, it was sufficient. But when we reviewed it, there was massive ambiguity across multiple processes, dependencies, and data models. So we came up with a number for the budget that they didn't expect. It was $4.8 million. The BP wasn't happy and requested 12 different variations of the same budget, thinking it can reduce the budget. But the problem wasn't the budget. Interestingly enough, a CFO or a finance VP don't go further than that. So we had to explain the why. A thin specification for all of those processes across 8 business lines meant that over 90% of the design work would need to happen during the delivery. We explained that if they invest more time clarifying what they needed before the delivery started, we could significantly reduce the budget and also the timeline. That's the essence of what I call left chip methodology. Spend more time before the start of the project, then you will be spending less time after the project starts for the delivery of all of the features. So we suggested this shift, and we asked them to take only one process like P&L and define it thoroughly. And we also suggested that along the way we are going to read it, and if there's something that is not clear and we don't understand, we will ask them all of the questions. They spent 6 months with the business stakeholders, 50 of them, to document every scenario, the user acceptance testing, meaning how they would define the success criteria of each feature. They defined all of the exceptions and all of the requirements. After all of the clarification, the specification was 250 pages. But it was a structured thinking. Years of experience of those 50 persons doing this process manually for the past 25 years had gone into it. It was turned into a shared clarity. It was written in the same language that everybody could understand. And we re-estimated the project with this new document, this 250 pages specification, and we went from 4 million to 120K just for that P&L scope. The delta didn't come from negotiation or from cutting corners or from hiring less headcount for the project. It came actually from something that is surprisingly very simple but also very complex. Listening, repeating what was understood, documenting it, letting everybody read and see if they understand the same thing and if they are aligned. And once it is clear for everybody, continue with the next feature. Once all of the features for one process is finished, continue with the next process. Of course, we are speaking about complex transformation project in high matrix organizations. But don't forget that life is the same thing. You are living in a society where you can master the specification of your life and the details of what you want to become. Any chapter that you skip, any chapter that is unclarified, and you will see that later, will give you the same result as the ChatGPT output to a on a stick business. So if you're currently writing specifications, make sure you are not outsourcing years of experience of your teams or understanding of the context, the do's and don'ts of the user acceptance testing, and the definition of done. Make sure to reduce ambiguity, to read it even loud with all of the stakeholders and ask if they have the same understanding as you intended when you wrote it. In modern life and in modern engineering, the code isn't important anymore. The specification is, and it is not just a document, it's the source of truth. If it is rushed, you'll pay it later. in change orders, in time and budget. If it is vague, you will pay it in rework, which is also time and budget. And if it is incomplete, you will keep paying every time a team has to interpret what you meant. When the specification is clear, on the other hand, your timelines are going to shorten. It doesn't mean that you are going faster, but you are not stopping to clarify on every feature. Your budget gets also 80% cut because fewer things need rework, and teams are aligned on what is actually being built, and it reduces the blame because of unclarity and because of rework. It increases the trust in cross-functional work. You built what you specified. It is not paperwork, it is clarity in engineering. And it is applicable to projects in an organization, but also to your life. Write once and deploy multiple times.